All right, so welcome once again to our English lessons. It's been a while since we had them, but we are back and we're going to be having them as usual on Friday morning around this time, 9 o'clock, because that's the time we're using. So that's the time we are going to continue using. And most of the lessons we had last time were on English paper 2, that is grammar. And this time we want to look at paper 1, which is composition and functional writing. And in particular today, we are beginning with letters, because letters are the things that introduce us to functional writing. We use letters a lot. We write these days. We use even messages, the messages we use on our phones, the email, all those fall under letters, but we shall look at each of them later in detail separately. So I'm going to share my screen and we talk about letters straight away. So when we talk about letters in particular, we refer to the two different categories, the broad categories of letters. And these two broad categories, like you already know, are the informal letter or the friendly letter and the formal letter. The formal letter is what we call the official letter or the business letter. For our lesson today, we are going to look at the informal letter. Now, the informal letter is that letter you write in informal situations, informal circumstances. Like we already saw that it can also be called a friendly letter. This letter is a letter we write to people who are close to us, family members, or even friends, close friends. So this informal letter is different from the formal letter. It may have the same components. Some of the components we find in the formal letter are also in the informal letter, but for the informal letter, the structure is different from that of a formal letter. So we want to look at the components, and the first one is the address. In an informal letter, we shall find an address. The address is usually put at the left corner of the letter, at the right corner of the letter. And since we are learning this particular lesson in preparation for our UCE exams at whatever level you are or whichever class you are, whether you're in senior 1, senior 2, senior 3, senior 4, we are preparing for the UCE exams, Uganda Certificate Examinations. While there is the other format that you can use, but this is the format that we are looking at. You can write your address in a slanting way. I will give you an illustration. You can also write your address in a block manner, but for us, we are looking at the slanting one. So it should be in the right hand side, one address, because it is an informal letter. Then we look at the date. The date comes right under your address. Of course, you write the date of that day when you write the letter. Then we have the salutation or the opening greeting. This is something like, dear so-and-so, hello so-and-so, depending on how you want to write your letter. And since it is an informal letter, your salutation can have a name. When you're writing to a close friend, you're not going to say, dear sir, or dear madam, because this is just a close friend. So the other component that we have is the body. The body is now everything that you're going to talk about in your letter. Tell the other friend how you have been, bring the reason why you're writing this letter, everything you want to include, all the detail come in the body. And then, of course, after the body, you close your letter and you end with a friendly, complimentary close, like yours faithfully. Yours faithfully is for the formal letter. So if it is a friend, just put yours or love or those simple things that we use for friends. And our letter is done. That is how we write a simple, informal letter to our friend. And that is what we wanted to begin with today as we resume our classes. Now, I'm going to give you a sample of a letter. I'm going to get it from my book. Those of you who know about Concise O-Level English, that is a book I have written, and that is where I'm going to show you a sample of a friendly letter. So I'm going to share a different screen now. I'm taking you right into the book. So this is a sample of a friendly letter. As you can see, this is the address. Someone is from Butiti village. This is the box number. So what I was telling you is this is our letter. And like I told you, like you see here, this is the address and it is slanting. When I say it is slanting, I mean this, like the address is not on a straight line like you see. This one begins from this side, then this one comes a little in, then this one comes more inside. That is what we call a slanting address. The other thing that we need to note about this address is that every line of the address ends with a comma. Please mute your microphone so that the reflection does not come in. So you see there is a comma here, there is another comma here, and when the address is done, then we put a full stop because we have completed that bit. Then we come to the date. When we are beginning the date, usually we want the date to begin on the same line with where your first word of the address started. So you can see 23rd May 2011 is starting from where Butiti village started. So that is your date. So the date, it comes in like that. And then when you write the date, we are writing 23rd. Don't make the RD or the TH, the one which comes here, this one. Don't make it climb, just leave it where it is at the same level with the date. Then you put the month in words, put a comma and put a year. Now we would put 2021, and then you put a full stop because we imagine even the date is a sentence. So that is it with our address and the date for a friendly letter. So from there, we go to the salutation. This is now our salutation. Because I told you, because we are writing to a friend, we can use a name, Dear John. So we are using a name. And then from there, this is part of the greeting, the salutation and the greeting. It's been very long since I heard from you. It is part of the greeting. And then we go to the body. I hope all is well. You cannot believe that ever since I celebrated my birthday, I have been down with malaria. I have even been admitted in the hospital. I was even admitted in the hospital. I almost missed a midterm test. So this is the body. It is telling you why you are writing. I'll come to the detail later. We are still looking at the structure. So that is, this is the body. From here to here, that is the body. Now, from the body, of course, when I look at the structure, from the body, we shall get to the conclusion or the closing remarks. And here, because it is a formal letter, the complimentary clause is just love, Tim. So you can just say yours, Tim. Take care, Joanne. You end in a friendly way. You don't end formally. You don't put those things of yours faithfully, yours sincerely. You can put affectionately if it is like a father, dear dad, dear mom, because we consider mom and dad to be like a name. If it is a friendly letter, even if you don't say dear father, you wouldn't be penalized for calling your dad, your father, dad, because this is just a friendly letter. So when you finish a friendly letter and it is your father, here you can, instead of love, Tim, or take care, you can say yours, or your daughter, or yours sincerely, then you put your name. So that is the structure of a friendly letter. Now, one thing I want us to look at, to put attention to on this friendly letter, is the language. The language of this friendly letter is more or less informal. It is informal language. As you can see, in English language, we don't want you to use short forms or what we call contractions. But when you look at this first sentence here, this one, you realize we are using it's. It's been very long since I last heard from you. In other words, it has been very long since I last heard from you. But this is a friendly letter, so you can use that contraction. But don't overcrowd your letter with contractions as if you are intending it. But when one or two drop in, that would be acceptable because you are just talking about, you're just talking to a friend. I hope all is well. You cannot believe that ever since I celebrated my birthday, I've been down with malaria. This is friendly talk. This is what you would talk to a friend if you met them. That is you. So you use friendly language. I was even admitted in the hospital. I almost missed our midterm tests. Although I sat for them, I was still very weak, and I think the results may be unpleasant. So this is what you would talk to a friend. So as we look at language, you also look at that kind of sentences we are using. We are not using complex sentences. We are using simple sentences and compound sentences. You don't see something like, having been sick with malaria for 2 days, I therefore, we are not using that because that is what we wouldn't talk like that to a friend. So in a friendly letter, want to see that language you would use in conversation, like you're talking to a friend. Language which is acceptable, which is formal language, but which is friendly, not complex. So the second sentence is, boy, that was a wonderful gift. So we imagine this is a response to something. This one, Tim had even received a gift from John. That is why he's even thanking him for the thing. So they know each other, they are friends. How did you think about it? I have always kept my photos in an envelope. I had not thought of an album yet. You really surprised me. You actually made my day. I was over the moon, as they say. Now he brings in that's an idiom to mean he was very happy, but an idiom that is well brought, that a friend can easily understand. You're also trying to sweeten up your language using figures of speech, but in a very friendly way. You really surprised me. You actually made my day hour. Okay. You know what? Now this is a real friend, how you talk to a friend. When it is your birthday, I don't want to surprise you, I will shock you. And then he says, love, Tim. There should actually be a comma here. Love, Tim. So you can close your friendly letter in any way you want, because this is something that someone is writing to a friend. So that is what I can say about a friendly letter, unless anyone has a question. If you're watching on YouTube, you put your questions in the comment section, then I will, just below this video, I will respond to each one of them. Usually I respond to all of them. And if you are watching with Zoom and you don't know, the YouTube channel we use is English with Fortunate. So you can always look it up and revise what we have done, because it will be there. And we shall be using this link. It is a recurring link. You can always use it for our Zoom meetings. Then when you want to revise, you go over to YouTube and you find the lessons there. So for those who are live here on Zoom, do I have any questions before we close our short meeting? Next week, I intend that we begin on informal letter. So when we do the informal letter, you should have already mastered the formal letter. You can even try it on your own, so that when you're looking at the informal letter, now you begin to see the differences. So any questions? Yes, Annette, you're unmuted. Nothing, Annette, please say something. Josh, you'll also say something after that.
So would you emphasize on how we punctuate in informal letters?
Good question. Like I told you, when we are writing our informal letters, because we are using friendly language, we are using all structures. You can see I used exclamations, I used question marks as well, because I expect the other person on the line to understand what I am saying. And you will find there are a number of punctuation marks, because we are not using very long sentences. Of course, we don't use very short sentences, like we don't know what to say. I don't say, how are you? I am fine. You brought me an album, thank you. I have been sick, full stop. I even went to the hospital, full stop. No, we don't use those short sentences, but we don't use very long sentences like we are in courts of law, like you're reading a law book. We use sentences as moderate as we use them in conversation. And of course, since we are using moderate sentences, we put commas where they're supposed to be, full stops where they're supposed to be, and if it is a question, we put a question mark where it is supposed to be. I don't know whether that answered your question or whether I understood what you were saying. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, great. So that was it for today. Until we meet again on Friday, I wish you a wonderful weekend and a good week ahead. We meet again at 9 on Friday. Those who made it for the live meeting on Zoom, you're welcome. And thank you for showing up. Those on YouTube, thank you also for showing up. And if you watch this as a recording much later, please go through and try to also practice write a letter, see how far you can go with it as you prepare, as we prepare to look at the informal letter. God bless you until we meet again. Bye-bye.